Imagine this. You're studying abroad in South Korea. Your teacher asks you to write the names of your classmates on the board for a group project. You grab the nearest marker. It happens to be red. You write one name, then another. Suddenly, the room becomes strangely quiet. A few students look at each other. One of your classmates quickly walks up and erases their name. They turn to you and say, half joking, half serious, "Please don't write my name in red." You pause. It's just a color. Why would that matter? But in Korea, writing someone's name in red can feel very unsettling. For centuries, red ink has been closely associated with death, and even today, many people still avoid doing it. So, where did this unusual cultural rule come from? Have you ever wondered why you should never write someone's name in red ink in Korea? It's a fascinating and slightly spooky superstition with deep historical roots. Let me break it down for you. Back in the day, red ink was reserved for a very specific purpose: writing the names of the deceased on family registers and funeral banners. It was a way to distinguish the living from the dead. So, if you were to write a living person's name in red, it was seen as a terrible omen, almost like you were wishing them harm or even death. It's like you're marking them as already gone. Today, while not everyone takes it as a literal curse, the tradition sticks. It's considered incredibly rude and disrespectful. So, next time you're in Korea or with Korean friends, just reach for a black or blue pen to be safe. It's a small cultural detail that shows a lot of respect. Long before modern Korea existed, families kept detailed genealogical records. These documents tracked generations of ancestors. They were extremely important in traditional society. In many of these records, when a family member died, their name was sometimes written or marked in red ink. The color helped distinguish the deceased from the living. So when people saw a name written in red, they immediately associated it with death. This practice wasn't limited to family registries. In certain historical periods, official records sometimes used red ink for criminals or prisoners who had been sentenced to death. In that context, red represented something final, permanent. Once a name was written that way, the person's fate was sealed. Over time, this association became deeply rooted in cultural memory. Red ink meant death. So, naturally, writing the name of a living person in red felt disturbing, almost like predicting or wishing their death. Interestingly, red is not always negative in Korean culture. In fact, it's often considered a powerful and positive color. Red is associated with energy, protection, and celebration. You'll often see red decorations during festivals or holidays. Red can symbolize life and vitality, but at the same time, red has another meaning. In many traditional beliefs across East Asia, red is also used to repel evil spirits. Ancient talismans and protective charms were sometimes written in red ink. The idea was that red carried spiritual power. Because of this dual symbolism, writing a person's name in red could place them in a strange symbolic space. Not fully among the living, but not exactly dead either. Instead, it could feel like invoking something supernatural. Even if modern people no longer think about these meanings consciously, the symbolism remains in cultural memory, and that's why the habit of avoiding red names continues today. So, how does this tradition appear in everyday life? Let's imagine a few situations. A teacher is grading homework. They might use a red pen to mark mistakes, but when writing the student's name, they switch to black ink. In an office meeting, someone writes notes on a whiteboard. They use red to highlight important ideas, but when writing people's names, they choose another color. Even parents sometimes remind their children not to write names in red when doing homework. For foreigners visiting Korea, this rule can feel surprising, because in many other countries, red ink is simply used for emphasis or decoration. But cultural habits often work this way. Small actions carry hidden meanings that outsiders might not immediately understand. Today, younger Koreans tend to treat the tradition more casually. Many see it as an interesting cultural superstition rather than a serious belief. Some people even joke about it. For example, a friend might say, "Why did you write my name in red? Are you trying to curse me?" Everyone laughs. But even then, they usually erase the name and rewrite it in another color. Because even when traditions lose their original meaning, they can still shape social behavior. People follow them out of respect for others, and sometimes simply out of habit. Have you ever been told not to write someone's name in red ink? It might seem like a strange rule, but this superstition has deep cultural roots, especially in many East Asian countries. Historically, red ink was used for very specific purposes. In ancient China, the names of deceased people were often recorded in red on family registers and tombstones. It was also used to mark the names of criminals sentenced to death. Because of these associations, writing a living person's name in red became a major taboo, seen as a curse or a death wish. This belief spread to other countries like South Korea and Japan, where it's still considered extremely rude and unlucky. So next time you grab a red pen, maybe think twice before you jot down a friend's name. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more cultural tidbits.